This episode is sponsored by Zygomatic. Hello and welcome to episode 46 of the Board Game Geek podcast, where we geek out about board games, the mechanisms behind them, and the people who create them. I'm your host, Candice Harris, and I am super duper excited to be here today with Eleni Papadopoulou, who's an amazing board game content creator known as Cardboard Rhino. I've been watching Cardboard Rhino videos for since I've been in the hobby. And she also works for CGE as a content creator. How's everything going today, Eleni?
Hi, Candice. I'm very happy to be here. I'm good. I'm in Greece at the moment. It's so hot outside. I'm trying to survive the heat wave. It's insane. But I'm leaving in 2 days to go to Czech Republic, where we do the CGE summer camp. So I'm excited to meet everybody and play games, and also to be away from Athens that is boiling at the moment.
That's awesome. I think when I interviewed Min and Elwin, and I think they were telling me about these kind of little retreats that you guys do, the CGE team.
Yes, that's really exciting because you can bring a family member as well. So it's like everybody together. We work half the time, so it's more relaxing. You have activities, you play games as much as you want. And
awesome.
It's great.
That sounds really nice. So I'm going to have to next year be your sister, so I can come on your family member.
Yes.
Anyways, it's really, really awesome to have you here. Like I said, I'm trying to think, I've been in a hobby since 2018, but I don't know how long you've had your channel Cardboard Rhino before you started working for CGE, but I always love your videos. You're always covering really cool games, and it's just really well done.
That's really sweet. Thank you. I haven't really counted the years because in the beginning, I wasn't making so many videos. I was doing this month, this video. Then I was at the same time learning how to edit. Yeah. So it took me a while to be able to, be happy about my videos.
Yeah.
I do not watch my older stuff because it's,
You've grown.
Yeah, hopefully, yes.
Yeah. Yes. That's super cool. Well, anyway, today we're going to discuss some awesome board games based on or inspired by movies. So a few episodes ago, I recorded with Meeple Lady, and we talked about our favorite board games that were based on TV shows. And originally, I was planning to combine, I was going to do an episode where it's TV shows and movies, but I was there are kind of too many for both lists. So I separated them. And you were excited to talk about this topic, weren't you?
Yes, very much, very much. Initially, I was yes, I love movies. Let's do this. Then I realized there's not so many games exactly on movies. So I think there's more about games inspired by movies or based on movies. There's more broad. And the thing that got me excited is that usually, games that are about movies have to do with theme. You know that you're going to get a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah.
And another thing that gets me excited all the time, I do it even with more regular games, I always like to have a soundtrack on. So
Same.
I have some games that I have specific soundtracks that I play with. So with the movie ones, you get really cool soundtracks to choose from.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I love pairing music with games also. And the movies, It's perfect. Well, we'll get into our list in a bit. Before we start talking about board games based on or inspired by movies, I'd love to hear what you've been playing, Eleni. So let's jump into fresh plays.
So I played recently Faraway, which is a game from last year, 2023, from Catch Up Games. There's two designers, Johannes Gopi and Corentin Lebras, if I pronounce correctly. And it's a game for 2 to 4 players. It's a very light, simple kind of game. It's about 15 to 30 minutes. And basically, you're in a mysterious continent, and the geography is ever changing, and you do some exploring. So in the game, in the entire game, you play 8 cards. In each round, you play 1 card from left to right, and that's important in the game. And in each card, that is like a location you're exploring and so on, it has a number that says the time it takes you to explore it. So when you're placing your next card and it's a higher number, you get to also explore the sanctuaries. You find some extra cards that give you bonuses and extra fame, which is what you're after. But if you're fast, you have a broader choice of new cards to get for the next round. So there is an offer that, and if you have the lowest exploration time number from the other players, you get to pick first. So it's like a trade-off. Either you're fast or you take your time and you get the sanctuaries. And at the end of the game, you want to travel back. So you start from the card you played last, the 8th card, and you travel back. So you start calculating your points of fame in reverse order. So that's, in the first time you play it, it's really tricky.
Breaks your brain, right?
Yeah, totally. I didn't manage to score, because you calculate how much you scored on each card. I didn't manage to score on half of the cards because I couldn't calculate what card I would get. So to, have the prerequisites, these symbols, this animal, the stone, and so on.
Yeah.
And the first time was crazy. So yeah, I love this idea of tableau building that you score in reverse. It's just that my mind wasn't used to thinking backwards.
Right.
But
right,
now
right.
that I do, it's I really want to play again and again. It's you have the feeling that I'm going to nail my next game now that I got it,
Yeah. I love this game too. And I played it. My friend, a listener of the podcast, also Roman, introduced it to me at Essen last year.
Ooh.
And I went, and I think we met up on the Saturday, just as the hall was about to close, and we played that. And I forget what else we played. I think a trick-taking game. But anyways, we played that, and I was like, this game is so cool. And one of my my friend Roberto, who played also, I think he ended up having that issue where he got to the end of the game and was like, oh, I did everything kind of, he did it kind of backwards, yes. Thinking backwards. But I really like this game. I love that challenge and the trade-off of wanting to play a card higher in your tableau so that you get a cool, one of those smaller cards. But then also if you're going to draft the card last if you have, exactly. That trade-off is super cool. I love that this game is fast and the art on the cards is really cool.
It's beautiful. Yeah. I really, really like it.
Yeah. And so I tried to get it at Essen, but it was sold out completely by the time it was on my radar. But a month later, I ordered it from philibert.net and I got a French copy. And
I have a French copy too.
Yeah, it works. It's language independent. You can find the English rules on BGG. But yeah, cool. I'm glad you enjoyed it and have that game too.
Yeah, Yeah, I only learned about it like a month ago. I don't know. I didn't know it existed, and now I think like it's. I'm glad it does. It's like simple and very very elegant and fun.
Yep. So that is Faraway. So the first game I'm going to talk about, I am super excited about. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a big fan of number one, David Thompson, but also just the Undaunted series that David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin created with Osprey Games. And I got an early copy of Undaunted 2200 Callisto. The publisher sent me a copy of this,
I'm
and
so
oh my
jealous. I'm
gosh.
sorry to interrupt you, but I'm so jealous.
Are
I
you an
love
Undaunted fan?
Undaunted. Yeah,
Oh,
totally, totally. I love it. Love it.
okay. I'm just gonna say, like, people are going to love this. Like, before I even go into like what it's all about, for me, like, my partner Matt is a big sci-fi lover. Like, any sci-fi TV shows, movies, he craves it. If a game has a sci-fi theme, like, that's more exciting. And he liked Undaunted, but he's not into historical games that much. So it was just like we played it. We played, I think, the North Africa version once. I played with him, and that was it. I think I won also, which kind of scared him off. But he was like, when this arrived, he was super excited to play it, and we played it for the first time actually last night and loved it. Like, we both loved it so much, and he's like, oh, we're probably going to do start a campaign soon too. But anyways, this is a standalone game in the Undaunted series, and it basically takes all of the core gameplay from the previous, like Undaunted Normandy, Undaunted Stalingrad, like that core system, and it brings it into a sci-fi setting where we are on the Jovian moon base Callisto, and it's the 22nd century AD. And this is just like every Undaunted game, scenario based. You can play every scenario back to back as a campaign. One of the key differences is, also you can play this solo or with up to 4 players. And I think the 4-player mode is similar to one which Reinforcements introduced, like where you play teams, I believe. It's often typically played as a 2-player game. One of the big differences here is, like in Undaunted, there you build a modular map based on each scenario, right? You put these tiles out, these beautiful tiles. This version now has 5 different game boards that are double-sided. So you have game boards that you will play on a specific board for a specific scenario. And they're all like really, really cool, because some scenarios you're on the surface of Callisto. Sometimes you're in like a spaceport, and there are all these different things with like elevation, and the boards just look really cool. And I'll also say the insert that they made for this game is really, really slick, because the boards have like the corners are like cut off, so that like the boards are in there when you open the box, and you can easily put your finger in and like take them out. And then all the trays have everything. It's like really, really, like, they've outdone themselves. I mean, I feel like Osprey always has really good production, but this game is just super, super nice. And thematically, so it's not World War II here. We're in a sci-fi world. One player or team is going to be playing the Lunar Frontier Authority, LFA, and they're competing against this local mining branch that's called the Breakers. And basically there's like tension, initially it's like, oh, we're going to work together, but that didn't work out. They're protesting, these 2 different groups. So they're duking it out in these different scenarios. There are like vehicles and mechs. And one of the things that's cool about this is the dice for combat. So you could be, if I'm attacking you and I'm elevated, like I'm on a higher terrain or, on top of a building, and you're below, I get to roll D12s for my attack. But if we're on the same level, we roll the d10s like kind of standard Undaunted. And then, but if I'm attacking you and you're above me, it's a little harder. So I only roll d8s for combat. So that's really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Nice.
I
That's
love.
very exciting.
Yeah, and like one of the things that I love that's like super like nobody's probably going to care about but me, but the D12 dice are this like really nice kind of light teal color that I don't know, it's like not seafoam green meets teal, but like they just have a really nice color to them. And I dig it. I dig that choice.
Yeah, you gotta love dice.
Yeah, and everything.
I
Go ahead.
sorry to interrupt you. I was just hoping there were vehicles. I was going to ask you because I really enjoyed how they did it in North Africa.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy you have vehicles, and now that you have different like elevation levels.
Yeah, you have mechs and vehicles, and the way they're represented, they're on standees. And another just like nice production touch is that we didn't have to put them on the standees. They come in the insert already ready. You just take them out. It's really nice. And they have these little red bases that you'll attach to say if one of your vehicles or mechs is suppressed. But we ended up just preferring to just lay them down if they're suppressed instead of doing the red little base for the standee. But yeah, it's really cool because you'll have like different people, like a commander and a gunner that are in the same vehicle, you know, and they just like everything really looks cool. You have interference cards instead of the fog of war. But like the gameplay works the same, right? It works the same, but everything about this, from like the art on the cards, I mean, like the minute you crack open the rule book, you are like in this sci-fi world because of like the font choices and the colors they put, and they really like build up the story a bit. And yeah, I don't know, we both just like really liked it. Another thing that I think they always do cool with Undaunted is they will put on every character, they give them a name. And in this case, they have like a name, but then they also have like a nickname. Like, oh, I'm sending Boss. We call this guy Boss. And so like we found ourselves saying like, oh, Boss is gonna move over here and, you know, take a shot at the mech that's over there. So I love the fun little stories you can kind of develop, even if you're not like
Yeah.
playing the full campaign. And as usual, you can play any scenario you want independently, standalone, or you can string it all together to play the campaign. There's also a solo rule book. David Digby and David Terzi designed a solo mode for this. I haven't like delved into it yet, but the booklet itself is like really nice. So I'm kind of curious to know like how that all works. But I love this because you know, Undaunted, the system is like one of my favorite deck building games, and the fact that now it's more accessible to people thematically, like more people are probably going to be down to jump into it if they didn't want to, you know, play a World War II theme. I think this is going to get like, Matt was like, I want to play that, you know, and he's not like a crazy enthusiastic gamer, but he just from seeing the box was like, I want to play that game. And we both loved it. So we're probably going to start a campaign in the next couple days.
Nice. Now I want to play the game.
You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Yeah, I was very excited with Normandy. Then I was more excited with North Africa. Then I was more excited with reinforcements. And then I was more excited with Stalingrad.
Yeah.
And then I kind of like, I didn't play the one that with the dogfights. I think it was something with Britain.
Battle for Britain.
Yeah, I didn't play that one, although I have it. And now this one looks amazing. You got me very curious about it, even though I quite like the war theme, to be honest.
Sure,
like the historical part. And usually I'm not a huge fan of sci-fis, but when I play them, I get very excited. So it's initially I'm like, yeah, maybe that's not for me. And but when I do play them, I tend to
That's
really
cool.
enjoy them. Yeah,
That's
so I'm
cool.
very curious.
I think people are going to really like if you're an Undaunted fan, it's like a no brainer unless you're like an Undaunted fan that
Mhm.
does not like sci-fi. But I think it's just like really, really cool to see this system kind of in a new world and the kind of background story they've developed for it and everything. And of course, again, like the production is really nice. You know, like where game boxes nowadays are starting to do more where you like have art in the inside of the box.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think if I recall, I don't have it in front of me right now, but like it's subtle, but it's something. Like every bit of detail they put into it artistically, and I know that's mostly Roland McDonald who's crushing all the Undaunted art, but yeah, so I really liked it. I'm not surprised. I love Undaunted, so this is just yeah, give me more, give me different. I love it. But yeah, highly
Awesome.
recommend checking it out if you know anybody likes deck building games that incorporate a board game component with it. It's really, really, really cool. So that is Undaunted 2200 Callisto. What else have you been playing lately, Eleni?
So when I was at the UKG, UK Games Expo, I picked up a game that was suggested to me that is called For the Queen. It's
Oh,
a 2024 game, like this year from Darrington Press, but I think it's a second edition. There was a previous one a couple of years back. It's designed by Alex Roberts, and it's a game from 2 to 6 players. And it's basically a storytelling card game in which it's just a bunch of cards, and initially you choose a queen. There's like a lot of illustrations from like different artists, I think, and different kind of queens. So you choose the one that calls you the most, and this is the queen that everybody's serving.
okay. I was
So
gonna ask. I was like, does everybody pick their own queen, or is it there's one queen per
no,
game? Kind of
there's one queen, and you kind of like already imagine like some sort of backstory based on the illustration, and
cool.
then each person sort of answers like a question that is on a card. Like there's prompts in cards, and you start building like a story. Could be it's whatever you make it. Really, could be a story of love, or betrayal, and so on. You keep playing like that. You add a little bit to the story. The next person adds to it until you find a card that says the queen is under attack. What do you do? So this is the end of the game and like the finale of the story. And I played it once at UKG with the CGE team, and it was actually a really fun, memorable team building moment. It's
Cool.
super easy to start playing the game. It's just a bunch of cards, and it tells you what to do. So you don't have to explain the rules. You don't lose any time, and you can control how long it takes to play, because you can put the
That's awesome.
last card in the middle if you want. The only thing that is kind of like a question mark for me is some questions kind of like invite a little bit of romantic talk or something.
Oh, gotcha.
Was like questions like, when was the last time the queen was gentle with you? And immediately I think your mind goes to specific things, but I think depending on the group, it can go a different
Tailor
direction,
it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. It can go to an epic direction, or something more like a heartbreaking thing, or
Right,
depends on the
right.
group. But for it was initially for me, it was hard to sidestep that, and so I want to play it again just to see if how different can it be from one game to the next.
Sure, sure.
And it has this entry level RPG thing where you just add to the story and so on. And I kind of enjoy like RPGs because they bring out like this new side in people, this other side that you usually don't see. And I enjoy being surprised by what people come up with. So
Yeah.
it was quite fun. It could have, I think, I don't know how much I will play it, like if it's replayable or not, but it was a very memorable experience for me, very, very entertaining.
That's awesome. So, couple things. I'm smiling over here because number one, that's going to be a good segue into the next game that I'm going to talk about. But when I went to Thailand last year, I always like to go to a game shop whenever I'm traveling, especially internationally. But I went to a game shop and I was specifically like looking for games that I hadn't seen anywhere else and or were like kind of like hard to get on the BGG Geek market. And so I found the original version of For the Queen and I was like, this sounds really
Oh.
neat. And I bought it there and never got around to playing it. But then the publisher, it was at Darrington Press of the new version, messaged me and asked if I would be interested in checking that out. And so I was like, yes. And now I can kind of, I'll be able to like compare both versions, but I haven't gotten around to playing it yet. But I do love that idea of just like bringing a deck of cards and sitting down with some friends and like having this like choose your own
Yeah,
adventure kind of
totally.
different
Yeah.
experience. So that's really cool that you got a chance to play it. And I totally hear you. Like I don't know if I can't say anything because I haven't played it yet, but I was definitely like just intrigued enough by the idea of it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm just curious to play it again because it might be a very different experience, and I would like to see how that would play out. Yeah, so I hope you get a chance to play it too.
I will, and you're kind of like kicking it up the queue list for me because now I really want to try it. The look of the new version is very different from the old version, so I'm so curious to now check it out and also just like compare both versions. But that is For the Queen. Okay, so like I said, that is a perfect segue into my next game. I just played Mini Rogue. I don't know. Have you heard of Mini Rogue?
Nope, never.
Okay. All right. So I hadn't heard of it either, but I was working on a how to play video for Nuts Publishing for a game they published called Saigon 75. And this was probably like what 2 years ago, I would say. But when they sent me that game, they sent like two other games just for me to like check out at some point. And one of them was Mini Rogue. And I've had it like on my shelf of like review copy games to like check out and I've almost played it so many times. And what happened was recently I'm trying to like track like my brain is very like all over the place. Like I get like something will trigger me to check out something else, trigger me to check out something else. But I think this is going back to episode 45 of this podcast where Matthew Jude told me about a game called Mythic Mischief. And I got really excited about that. It's from the company IV Games that makes Moonrakers. I don't know if you played
Yeah,
that.
this one I heard, Mythic Mischief, but I haven't played.
Okay, it's basically a two-player, very like abstract strategy type game, but it has like a theme where you're these different characters or factions that are in a school library and you're trying not to get caught, but you're trying to make your opponent get caught kind of thing. I don't know. I'm very excited to play that, but that led me to another game. I think it was Caper Europe that now I'm excited to play that. All this is to say that I think it was from me getting excited about Caper Europe. I ended up discovering this channel on YouTube called Dungeon Dive. The Dungeon Dive, I think it's called. And it's a really good channel. And I don't even remember the first video, like what led me to this guy's channel. But then I was like watching like one of his lists of games and he's talking about all these like really cool dungeon crawl kind of adventure games. And it made me want to play Mini Rogue. So now I'm like really excited about exploring more games that are like these kind of adventure games. And I've never played D&D before. I have very limited RPG experience, and it's sort of like slightly outside my wheelhouse, but I like exploring things and, games where you have these memorable experiences and stories and everything. So, anyways, I finally played Mini Rogue. I've played it a couple times solo now. It came out in 2020, and I think before that it was a print and play game, like a small, like either 9 or 10 card print and play game that I guess people really liked. So Nuts Publishing was like, let's actually produce this. And it's designed by Paolo Di Stefano and Gabriele Gendron. And basically, it's a small box dungeon crawler board game. And it's either one, you can play it solo, or 2-player cooperatively. And you're like delving into this dungeon, which is like made up of these cards that are different rooms. And you're trying to get to the 10th level down to hopefully try to get this mysterious ruby called Og's Blood. And at the start of the game, you pick a character. So in the base game, you have like a rogue, a crusader, a mage, or a priestess you could play as. And each one has like 2 cool abilities. You have a character board that has stats like your XP. You'll be tracking food, gold, health. You can get potions. There might be one other thing that I'm not thinking of, but basically each round you're going to be like exploring one floor of this dungeon, and you're going to put out these room cards. So there's a deck of these room cards, and you put them into a 3x3 grid, but you're only putting 8 of those because the 9th card in the grid, the bottom right that you're working your way down to, is a boss you're going to have to fight at some point. So during the exploration phase, you like move your little token. You're on a room, so you'll resolve the room that you're on. And then after you resolve the room that you're on, you reveal the card below you and to the right of you. And then you decide where to go. So you either go down or to the right, depending on which thing you want to do. And there are like all these different types of encounters. Like there are monsters, there are like cool treasures, or like other things that you can kind of acquire along the way to like level up your character. But the way you're kind of interacting with each room is you are rolling dice for like skill checks, or if you're going in a room with a monster, you're rolling dice for combat. And the dice are, you have one character die that you start with. That's it's 1 through 6. Is it? Yeah, I think it's just 1 through 6, but the 5 and the 6 are successes for skill checks. And then you have this other die that's the dungeon die. So you roll both of them whenever you're doing something. And then depending on what your character die is, something happens. And depending on the dungeon die, something happens. And as you level up your character, you might get a second character die, which is helpful. There's some of the encounters might make you have to add a curse die or a poison die to your pool. That you like, whenever you roll, you have to roll that too, and something bad's probably going to happen. But it's really cool. It's like these are games that are story driven, like exploration. You are rolling dice, so it's definitely going to be like a lot of luck of the dice. But I really liked it because you're working your way to these rooms. You're like, oh, which way do I want to go? Oh, I'm going to try to beat this monster. If I am successful, I get some rewards. The dungeon board that tracks like which floor you're on, it also has an area where you can track whatever enemy you're fighting's their health. So you can easily keep track. Like everything is very kind of easy and smooth, and it's a small box. And the other thing that's really cool with the dice is that when you roll the 6 on your character die, it's a critical hit. But you have to reroll. You always have to reroll it. And if you roll, oh, that's right. The dice aren't 1 through 6 because one of the sides is an X, which is a miss. You always have to reroll the crit result. And let's say I rolled a 3. Then I add it to my 6. So now my outcome is 9. But if I happen to reroll that crit die and then get an X, I bust pretty much. now it's nothing. Like, so there's like a little bit of a push your luck aspect to that. Again, I'm like on this like path right now where I'm like super intrigued and excited about different adventure games. And I'm glad I finally tried this, even though I have not won yet. I, I think I've made it to the third floor, and just, I don't know. I have to figure it out.
I'm glad you mentioned this game because I was recently looking for a present for my partner, like a solo or a two player game that has like RPG elements,
Oh
and it was very hard
yeah.
to find. Actually, I didn't really find much in that, so I would like to check this out.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I know there are and I just love the small box aspect. Like, you can travel with it pretty easily. I did have some trouble with the rule book. There are just like different, like, I found myself, it's a small book, and I just found myself occasionally being like, wait, what is this icon? Or I'm not like fully grasping how to do such and such. Like, certain things aren't explained the best, but there are a lot of playthrough videos online, and I think a couple how to play. So I was just kind of like checking out some videos in conjunction with the rules. But it's like, once you get it, it's not complex. Like, it's just more fun and all about the exploration. Also, I must have like an older version of this game because I saw, I don't know if you've ever seen Marco Omnigamer's YouTube channel, but he has a video on this, and he had dual layered player boards. And I was like, oh, I need that, because like literally on my first game, I went to like put a card down and I knocked my character board. The cubes go flying, and I'm like,
Oh
ah,
no!
yeah. So I need to get the version that has the dual layered player boards. And also, the other thing is, there are like lots of expansions that apparently add some like really cool, like more flavor, different rooms. And each floor you go on, you're going to shuffle the same deck of room cards and lay them out. But it's like, you never know what you're going to get, because like, depending on the direction you go, which cards are there, because they're all face down till you like go through and explore them. So I don't know. I thought this was a really like clever design, and I really like the exploration. Like, I've only played it solo, but I think it would be really fun two players too, because it's cooperative and it's adorable. Like, the art's really good. So I'm looking forward to like playing this more, and also whatever other adventure kind of games I start getting into. So this is
You
Mini Rogue.
really sorry.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it doesn't matter. I just wanted to ask you, like, your relation to adventure games and D&D, because you sounded like you want to play more of that, but you haven't. But
Yeah. So with me, with RPG, so I love Too Many Bones. Too Many Bones is one of my favorite games. And that's kind of, that's got that adventure that you're kind of like going through. And it's a much heavier experience. But I feel like I'm RPG curious, but like, I don't know. I never feel like I'm good at being creative with like coming up with stuff. But the couple of times I've tried like one shots, people said that I was doing well. But I think I like more of this like hybrid experience of like board
Mhm.
game with some kind of adventure, and I'm leveling up a character and I'm getting cool stuff. So I think that's where I am right now, where like, I don't think I would jump into a D&D campaign. Well, if I had time, if I had more time, I
Yeah,
totally
you
would be
need
down to.
commitment.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's a commitment, so I would like totally be down if I had more time, but I haven't gotten there yet. And that's not to say that in like 6 months I won't be like, I'm all about RPGs. Like, who knows? Who knows? But what about you? Like, what's your experience with RPG and adventure games?
Well, I played D&D, but I haven't played that much. The thing is that we also record our sessions, and because they are in Greek, if you're Greek, you can watch them. But it's really good production quality, and it's really
Oh.
nicely edited, and it has some fun base here in Greece, and we have like this small show.
Oh, that's
But we
cool. What's it called?
do. It's called in Greek. It's questaro que gustaro, which means it's a silly name. It means I'm questing and I like it, something like that.
Nice.
In short, it's QNG, and we play very rarely. We play now because some of the people in the group have kids now, and we don't have enough time. But when we do, it's like super exciting, and people still watch it even if we don't upload regularly. Like they're still engaged with the story and everything.
That's
Um,
cool.
so yeah, aside from that, I don't really play D&D, but this is like we have a great DM. Like I love the games when we do play, but I'm also looking for hybrid stuff, like
Yeah.
a board game. But I'm not aware of a lot of them, so this is something I would like to get more into.
I am definitely going to explore it more. And I'll just shout out that channel again. I hope I'm saying it right too. It's Dungeon Dive, I think. I'll put it in the show notes. But but yeah, I'm getting into it. And one of the games that I also discovered that I'm really excited to try is a game called Paupers Ladder.
Mm-hmm.
It has this really charming look and feel to it, and it's you can play it solo or you can play it competitively. There may be a co-op mode too, but you're kind of exploring this board. Like the art reminded me of Feudum a little bit, but it's got this like kind
Oh,
of like charming I don't know, but I'm like super excited to play that game. And I know there's a second edition of it coming in October, but I actually just found someone who posted they were selling the first edition, and I was like, I can't wait till October. So I do have a copy of that coming, and I'm super excited to try it. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. These hybrid games are kind of cool, and Mini Rogue is just it's a good way to like dip your toes into it to see if you like kind of dungeon crawl experience, but like with a low commitment. And yeah, just I don't
mhm.
know. There's something that's like got me really excited about these kind of games, so I'll definitely be exploring it more. But yeah, that is Mini Rogue. And now a word from our sponsor. Calling all bounty hunters, get ready for a strategic showdown. Embark on an epic adventure in Star Wars Bounty Hunters, a thrilling light strategy card game from Zigamatic that lets you hire hunters, capture targets, and emerge as the galaxy's best bounty hunter. There's no downtime in this drafting game, just nonstop fun. The uninterrupted experience includes simultaneous gameplay, strategic decisions, and lots of thrills in an adrenaline-packed adventure. Bounty Hunters also features brand new exclusive art, offering a fresh and vibrant look that will immerse you in the experience. Bounty Hunters is designed for adventurers from 10 years old and beyond. Gather your crew as 2 to 6 players can engage in the pursuit of targets and contracts over 20 minutes of intense playtime. Pick it up now anywhere games are sold. Awesome. Let's jump into our chat about board games, the best board games according to us, based on or inspired by movies. And again, like some of the games we are picking might be based on like an official IP, but others might just be something inspired by a movie or different movies. And did you put your list in any particular order? Like, is the last one you're going to mention your favorite or?
No, I didn't really do that. I
Okay.
tried, but I'm not sure that it's, absolutely fair and correct.
Right.
So no.
Right. Yeah, sometimes like if you haven't, we both play a lot of different games, and it's like if you haven't played some of these enough to like really say, "Oh, I like this one better" or that one better. Mine was very very tough. You'll see why when I like share the games, but it was very tough, I'll just say. And so I think similar to you, like all of these games on my list are I really like them. The ones that are in like the top 2 or 3, I think are it's hard to say which one I like better kind of thing. But
Oh,
anyways,
cool.
let's jump to your number 5.
So my number 5 is Vengeance. It's a game.
Ooh.
Yeah, you played it?
I've only played it once at Essen at Mighty Board's booth.
Okay,
But
okay,
good
okay, okay.
pick. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's possible that I could have done the demo to you because I used to work for Mighty Boards and I was doing demos for them. And I really, really enjoy Vengeance. It's a game from 2018 from Mighty Boards. The designer is Gordon Galea, and it's a game from 1 to 4 players. And basically, it's sort of like a revenge movie in a box somehow because it's based on revenge movies like Old Boy, John Wick, Kill Bill,
Kill Bill.
and so
Yeah.
on. Yeah. And actually, this is the soundtrack I choose to play when I'm playing Vengeance.
Awesome.
Have Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2. It's amazing. So in the game, you play as a hero. You're being like wronged by some guys who bashed you badly and so on. So you want to get your revenge. On the table, you basically have like these dens with minis. Like you have the minions and bosses in hiding inside the dens, and you have also your player boards from your hero with different stats and so on. So this game follows like a movie sequence. You have Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and so on. And in each act, you first prepare for montage. So you try to heal yourself and train and get upgrades and get ready for the fight that's coming. And then in the next part of the act, you do the combat. So you go in the dens and you basically look for the bosses that you're after. But yeah, the meat of the game, I think it's basically the combat because it's depending on your skill, you have like some dice, and on your turn, you go into the den that you choose, and you have 3 rolls of the dice in order to be able to do everything, like go in, kill everybody, kill the boss, and get out. Or kill as many as you can, basically. So you use the dice. It's like a dice puzzle. You use the all your equipment that give you combos for the dice. So it's you have to think like the best sort of combination on the spot, and it's sort of like it's like an action scene in slow motion. You're in the den. What do? Do I have like enough good results to go for this guy? Should I just leave? It's
Right.
these decisions you have to make. Yeah, so the combat I really the system of vengeance I really really enjoy. And apart from that, like I think there's a lot of theme in the game, like the bosses from the different gangs. There and the art is gorgeous. Like I really love the art. It's very unique, I think, for this genre. And yeah, you have gangs like the biker gangs. You have like the some that look like the Yakuza gang and so on. It's like different types of gangs. And I really enjoy the minions as well. I think they're very thematic. Like you have in the dens the grunts, like they're the guys that you have to shoot first. Like they're the guys in the
before you get to the
movies
boss.
who
Yeah.
jump and get the bullet. It's like that. You have the blocker that blocks your way. You have to kill them if you want to move on. Tough guys and so on. So I quite, I get into the theme a lot when I play Vengeance. Oh, and also I love the backstories. Each hero has a backstory. My favorite one was, I think, Johnny Silver, the punkhead. And the game has also amazing solo. I think it's probably like worth it primarily for the solo because each hero has like a different adventure. One of the sort of like not so great things about it is that it's essentially solo multiplayer game because you don't really have a lot of interaction. So that's why I'm suggesting the solos are really, really well done. And also as a player, you mostly want to be done with the montage so you can go into the fight. So there's a little bit of downtime in that. But I can suggest Vengeance Roll and Fight, which is basically the same game, but as a roll and write real time game. So I think this solves a little bit the downtime issue. And it has the same sort of art, I think. Yeah. The same
I
system
think
with the
so.
dice. So yeah, I recommend Roll and Fight. It's pretty cool.
So I just realized too. Well, I realized like 2 seconds after you started talking that I was like, I've only played Roll and Fight. I never played the original version. I forgot. Like I immediately was just thinking you were talking about the Roll and Write when you mentioned Vengeance, but I was like, oh yeah, there was a game that was based on. So I have not played Vengeance, but I've played Vengeance Roll and Fight, the Roll and Write version. Yeah.
Right. No, I think it's a pretty good version of the original. It was a really good idea. But I personally have a lot of it has more sentimental value for me, like the original Vengeance game and all with the original art and everything.
Cool.
And the minis are amazing as well. Really, really cool. So yeah, that was Vengeance.
Awesome. I'll have to try that at some point. But yeah, I know the roll and write version totally. Like it's so clever that there's like a montage where you're kind of prepping and then you're going into these different rooms and dealing with these thugs and everything, which is a good segue to the first game that I'll bring up, which is The Godfather Corleone's Empire. And this is a game that came out in 2017, designed by Eric Lang from Simon, and it plays with 2 to 5 players. I've owned this game for probably 3 years. I don't know. I forget when I bought it, but I've never gotten to play it until last week. And I was like, whenever this topic came up on the podcast, I was like, I'm gonna play that game so I can see, how it is. And I had heard good things about it, just never gotten it to the table. But this is a worker placement and area control game that's based on The Godfather. And I haven't watched The Godfather in a while, but I've seen all 3 of them. And this game really just like nails the theme. I mean, there are characters and families and everything, locations, like everything is thematic. Production is really, really good of this, but you're basically playing as mafia families who are competing against each other for, you're trying to get control of different turfs in New York City. And the goal of the game is to have the most money at the end of the game. And each player has their own little suitcase, this like tin box where you're going to be gradually stashing away money. And whoever at the end of the game, which is the game's divided into 4 acts or rounds, and they're very thematic. Like the act 1 is like the wedding. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most money in their suitcase wins. So again, there are 4 acts. One of the things that I really, really appreciate about this game is that it's such a clean, straightforward design. It's a game that I know if I don't play it if I don't break this out till like next year, a year from now, I don't need to read the rules. There's a little player aid on the back of the rule book. It's just like a clean design. Once you hear the flow of it, and the iconography is really good. They have this little car that keeps track of every phase. And then you have this Don Corleone mini that keeps track of which act you're on. So you just kind of like flow through. But what happens is each act, again, there are multiple phases. The first phase is open new business. So you'll basically they have these like location tiles, and you'll put it on the board somewhere in one of the turfs, and it's going to give you a new action space that you can go to. Then there is a family business phase, and this is the main like worker placement phase. And there are only 4 actions. One is you can play one of your thugs. Thugs are minis that you'll have in your color, and they have square bases. And when you place a thug, they can only go on square spaces on the board, which are the front of businesses, because you're going to shake down these businesses. So your thugs are in the front. So you place one of your thugs on an open space, and then you get whatever do the action. And the actions are really, really straightforward. Again, it's like you can get money, you can get illegal goods. So there are guns, booze, and blood money. And later in the game, I think during Act 3, you might be able to get narcotics, which is a wild card that's like is all three, because each of these illegal goods is associated with a color and there's an icon. Because you're going to need these illegal goods to complete jobs, which is another action you can take, complete a job. And everybody starts with a couple job cards in hand, and then there are public job cards each round that are available, and they do not get refilled until the end of the act. So we learned quickly after Act 1, like how important it is to kind of complete those public ones, because they give you really cool effects, which I'll get into a little more. But the other thing you could do, so you can complete a job, you can place a thug, or you could place one of your family members. Now, these are pieces that you have a round base of your color on them, so you put them on circle spaces on the board. All the circle spaces are basically adjacent to one or probably two or more turfs. And I should say, like, the board is illustrated like New York City. You have these different turfs. I think there are 7 different turfs, which are just areas. So when you place a family member, you shake down the back of every business in each turf you're touching. So every turf that you're adjacent to, every business, you'll shake down the back of the business. And what that means is every location on the board, whether it's one of these tiles or something printed, has like a top part and a bottom part benefit. And so the top part is what you get when you're shaken down with your family. And then the bottom part is what, if you drop a thug there, you just do that one thing. Also, something that I realized we missed as a rule, my bad, is that when you put a thug down to shake down the front of a business, the player who controls the turf there can take that ability too. So I have to remember that for like next time I play this, but that kind of gives you more reason to have control. The last thing you could do during this family business phase is you can play an ally card. There's a phase of the game where you'll be able to bribe, and it's a secret blind bid to draft these cool allies that give you like some special ability. Some of them are just like let you gain money. Oh, another important action I have to remember is there's a suitcase icon that just means stash one of your money cards. One of your money cards. So you have 4 different money cards. I think a $1 one, a $2 one, a $3 one, and a $5 one, I think. And you can never exchange these currencies. So like if you were on a space that says gain $3 and there's just a single card with a 3, you take a $3 card. You don't take 3 $1 cards. Like they're very strict about that, because when you take a suitcase action, you can take one of your currency cards and stash it in your suitcase. So during the bribery phase, you're going to take money from your suitcase as a blind bid, and then whoever bids the most is going to get to draft one of these cool ally cards first, and whoever bids the least doesn't get one. And the allies are really cool. Some of them give you an extra mini that you can put on the board to do shenanigans like bump people off of spaces. And when you complete jobs, you usually get some really cool ability. Sometimes you'll be gunning down your opponents and dropping their minis in the Hudson River. That is a thing where you can gun down. Like there's one of the rewards is like a drive-by. Like, and these jobs are super easy. And this is what I mean. Like it'll say, hey, for this job, you need to hand in a gun and a blood money card. Cool. Do that. Get the ability. You're also stashing the jobs you complete, because at the end of the game, there's a bonus for set collection of different types of jobs. Whoever has the most of the green jobs gets an extra like $5 or something. So ultimately, you're trying to get the most money. It's very thematic. It's very interactive. There's a turf war phase after the like worker placement phase where you're just going to count your minis in different turfs, and whoever has the most presents gets to put one of their turf control markers out on that turf. And they kind of like there are these discs that stack. But at the end of the game, whoever for each turf has the most of their control markers, they will get $5. If there's a tie, whoever's higher up, like meaning most recently controlled that turf, will get the $5. So there's like this area control thing going. And your family members that are like adjacent to multiple turfs count as presents when you're scoring up the turfs. So there are like some really like juicy spots that we're all competing for. And there's just like a lot going on for such simple rules. It's so thematic. And, you know, we had lots of table talk. And the other cool thing is the hand management. Like we didn't really get it the first round, but at the end of every act, you have to discard down to a number of cards. So you can't be just like hoarding money cards or anything. You have to like try to like stash cash, because we were all in situations where we had to like discard, and you're like, do I want to lose this job card? Or do I want to lose my money? You know, because we have to basically pay tribute to the Don. And it reminded me of Sons of Anarchy board game, which I really like enjoy because I like the show. If you like interactive worker placement and area control kind of games, I mean, this is like something where you have to be cool with getting gunned down or getting like knocked off of a space. Like people are kind of competing for different spaces and control, but there's lots of like fun kind of table talk because it's like, oh, well, I don't think you should do that here, because if you do that, we were like making threats like, oh no, you don't want to come at my family, because if you do, I'm going to come back. And like, you know, so you're getting these like revenge conversations. My friend Lauren had to extort somebody when she completed a job, and that means she got to get some money from them, but the person got to pick which currency cards from their suitcase that they gave her. And she, like, I think this took 10 minutes where it's like she wanted to go to one person, and I was like, no, you should definitely pick from him. He's got more $5 bill stash, you know. It was cool. I really liked it. I'm glad we're talking about board games based on movies so that I could finally force myself to play it. But I really liked it.
Yeah.
Have you played The Godfather Corleone's Empire before?
No. Actually, I've seen the box cover, and I was like, yeah, you know, I kind of judge it from just the cover and thinking that it cannot be as good as the movie. You know, I didn't
Fair.
really notice that it's the designer is Eric Lang. I never noticed that, and now that you gave him like the whole like explanation, it sounds super thematic. Something I will be very down to play. I love interaction in games, and the whole area control you described, I think fits a lot. It's exactly like for our feature topic. It's a really good pick. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I really liked it, and that's why I've held on to it all these years. Like there are tons of games that I buy, sometimes never get to play, and then I end up just like selling. But I was like, I'm gonna hang on to this. Like I think it's gonna be fun, and yes, very thematic, like really good production in terms of, again, the game board, the graphic design, like just the having this little car to track through the phases. Like that's what I mean. Like when I go to play this a year from now or 2 years from now, it's going to take me like 3 minutes to remember how to play it, because it's a really clean design. But that's Eric Lang for you, you know. So anyways, that's The Godfather Corleone's Empire. What's the next game on your list?
My next game is Final Girl. Yes.
Have not played it yet, but I'm very
Oh, you
familiar
haven't?
with it. No.
Oh, okay. It's from Van Ryder Games. It was released in 2021. And the designers are Evan Derrick and AJ Porfirio. And it is a solo game. Initially I was very excited about it because I thought it was a great idea to have like a core box, and then you buy all these other feature film boxes, so you can have many different heroes, many different locations and killers, and you can make your own movie. And I also really was surprised to see like the final girl trope in a board game. I sort of, usually it's like in movies you have this female protagonist that stays last and has to survive against all odds. And
Right.
usually in like older movies, these protagonists needed like a male to come save them.
Save
But I
them.
think
Yeah.
yes, they couldn't do it on their own or something. And now like there's a lot of movies that have this like very tough, dynamic final girl. And I
Yeah.
really enjoy having like a female protagonist in games. There are not a lot of games that have that.
Yeah.
Like I can only
Yeah.
think of like witchcraft, which you have like all these witches and so on. But it's something I'm missing a lot in the hobby, and that's why I think I'm very excited about the game before I even played it. So
Awesome.
you're trying to kill the slasher to survive and so on, and on the board you have the location, you have like you choose your killer or whichever one you have bought, and you have like event cards, items, you have your action cards and so on, and you're trying to save as many I think they're called victims as you can. You're trying to manage your hand and also damage and kill the killer or killers.
Mm.
So basically, you play your cards. Like there's this element of time. Initially, you start with like the zero time cards, like the free cards, let's say, and you do your actions, and then depending on how much time is left on like of this timer track, you can get new cards from like the available ones, so you can do cooler things with them. And
That's
then
a
you have the
cool.
killer.
Oh, sorry. I was
Sorry.
gonna say that's a cool thematic touch of
Yeah,
like if
yeah.
you can do something faster, you can like scavenge and get some other
Yes,
stuff.
yes. Totally, yes. And basically how you do your turn is that you play your cards, and you, depending on where the horror level is, so like how good the killer is doing, affects how many dice you roll for each card. So you want to get like two successes in order to get the highest resolution of the card. Otherwise, you have to, if it's like a half success or something, you have to discard cards, which is, not always so doable. And if it's a fail, then you lose extra time usually. So it's depends a lot on, you really have to use some cards that are, I think, concentration or something like that, that help you deal with the how many dice you get, because it's very important to get moving. You need to save people, you have a plan and so on, and then you get like all hell breaks loose because there's the killer's turn, and uh, you don't know what's going to happen. You have these cards that activate the killer, and maybe some events come up, maybe new victims like enter the location. So it becomes like usually harder. So I really enjoyed the. I think it really captures the essence of horror movies. I love the like the panic element. So at the end of the round, if there is like if the killer killed someone, or if the killer is in the same room with the victim, they panic. So you were trying to get them to a safe place, and they do panic, and they're ruining your plan, and like everything is, you cannot control
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. That's so
Which
cool.
I really enjoy. It's very annoying in the game because it ruins everything, but I think it's very, very thematic. And I actually haven't really watched a lot of horror movies because I get very scared.
Mhm.
I watched Sixth Sense when I was a kid, and it really scarred me for life. I think I couldn't sleep for a week.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I cannot really watch horror movies, but I really enjoy them in games. And in general,
Yeah,
there's something very, I don't know, attractive in this genre. So I'm glad I can play these kind of games.
that's
Um,
cool.
uh, yeah, I think it's very replayable game. I have played like I don't know, not too many of them, like 5 or 6 games, and it depends a lot on the setup and the events. Like things pan out very differently depending on the starting situation. And it's a game I think I'm going to keep playing. I really, really enjoy that every game is so different. It's very easy to learn as well. It doesn't last for too long, so it's something that you can easily start playing. And my favorite thing probably is that I really find fitting, like the I don't know if you know the Planet Terror movie. It's not a horror film, really. It's a film from Rodriguez, and it has the most amazing soundtrack that I think fits this game so much.
Oh,
Like
yes, soundtracks.
it's
We needed, yeah.
really cool. This soundtrack is amazing. Or you can just play, Halloween sort of movie soundtracks. It's a game that I don't really play that many solos, but I really, really enjoyed this one.
Awesome. So I have a quick little story. Before I do that, I'm going to say we did listen to like every Godfather soundtrack, and there's like some Godfather movie playlists out there. So we had like
Yes.
really appropriate music for that game.
Yeah, that was
But
amazing. This soundtrack is amazing from Godfather.
yeah, but Final Girl, I haven't gotten around to trying. I think I will like it. It's one of those things where I was like, I don't think that theme excites me. But considering, I think, are these the same designers that made Hostage Negotiator
I think so. I think it's a
or one of them or
reimplementation.
something? Yeah.
It's a
So,
reimplementation, so it should be from yeah.
yeah. So I think the thing where I think I'll love Final Girl also, especially just because I heard from so many people that it's like really cool. But I played Hostage Negotiator, and originally I was like,
Hmm.
I don't like this theme. Wah, wah, wah. But then I got it because I think it was like Liz Davidson's Beyond Solitaire channel where she inspired me to check it out. And I was like, this is so cool. And it's so thematic. And I didn't think I would be into the theme, but I loved it. And it's so well done. And I feel like most people I know who have played both like Final Girl even more. So I'm like, I know I'm gonna like it, even though if I hadn't played Hostage Negotiator and had that experience where I was like, this is really cool and I do like this theme and it's very well implemented, I probably wouldn't be excited to try Final Girl, but I do want to try it at some point because I hear it's so great, and I know Hostage Negotiator is so great, and if that makes it better, like takes the system and with the different theme, I will have to try it
Yeah,
at some point.
I think you will like it. Yeah.
Good pick. All right, so Final Girl. Well, my next game on my list is probably only here ranking wise because I've only played it once still, but it left a really, really good impression on me, and it is Star Wars Rebellion.
Oh.
Star Wars Rebellion 2016 release, designed by Corey Konitzka and published by Fantasy Flight Games. It's technically 2 to 4 players, but I think most people play it as a 2-player experience. And this is so my sci-fi loving partner Matt loves Star Wars. He is a big, big Star Wars fan. And we played this together on like at some point we went away for like anniversary and bought some games, and we just like we had one of the Star Wars movies on in the background, and it probably took us like 4 hours to play it because we were both new to it, but it was just incredibly like cinematic, thematic in this game. Like basically one player, or if you play with 4 players it's teams, I believe. One player is playing as the Imperial side, so the Galactic Empire. The other player is the Rebel Alliance player. It's asymmetric, so each side has different win conditions. It's a big game board. I think it's like a 2-part board you have to put together. And there are minis, lots of minis. It's a big box. But the Imperial player is basically trying to find the Rebel Alliance's hidden base. So the Rebel player at the beginning of the game picks a planet and has this card that's like, my base is on this planet. And the whole objective of the Galactic Empire, the Imperial player, is to find that base. So you're moving around, you're trying to, fight rebels on different planets to try to find this base and then destroy the base and everybody there. And that's what they need to do. But there's a ticking timer because the Rebel player they're going to be completing all these secret objectives. And as they're completing secret objectives, this token is ticking down this track. And there's a round tracker kind of thing that's ticking the opposite direction. And when they meet, that's the end of the game. And if the Imperial player hasn't found the base by then the Rebel team wins. So they're trying to complete these secret objectives and push the game along so that the Empire player can't find their base. But it's really awesome. And it's really cool because it's so thematic. If you love Star Wars, it's amazing. But even if you don't like Star Wars or have never seen Star Wars, it's still a really incredible board game and a really cool experience. Very tense. I also, when I told Matt I was putting this on the list, he was like, what about Outer Rim? Because he loves Star Wars, and Outer Rim is a lighter, easier game, but also very thematic. I'll give a little nod to Outer Rim, but I like Rebellion a lot better. It's more my style, and I like big epic games. I have the expansion, the Rise of the Empire expansion, which everybody I think says don't play without it. I haven't tried it yet, and that one's kind of brings in more of the Rogue One Star Wars aspect thematically and characters and everything. But this is just a banger that I've only played once, and I just constantly, it stays on my shelf. I constantly want to bring it back out. But I think I'm always intimidated by it's going to be 4 hours, lots of minis to set up. But I just need to warm it up and just do it. I really want to play it again. But have you played this one at all?
So I was a bit silent because I wasn't sure whether I should reveal that I've never watched Star Wars. And I know it's big explosion. I don't know why I haven't. I know a lot of things about it because a lot of series and other movies, there's so many references. I feel
Board
I know stuff. Yeah. But I haven't. I don't know. And now maybe it's too late. I don't know. It's not going to be the experience.
Growing up with it, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I've thought about watching it. I'm maybe it should remain a mystery forever. I don't know.
Well, I've never seen any of the Harry Potter movies, and all my friends shame me because of that.
But if you have read the books, it's fine. I mean,
I haven't read the books either.
Okay, then if you have to pick one of the two, just read the books.
The books, the movies, okay.
Yeah.
At this point, it's such an ongoing joke that I'm just I'm proud that I'm nope, who's that little wizard guy? I don't know. But yeah, this game is really cool. Again, even if you haven't seen Star Wars, so I definitely recommend you check it out. And of course, obviously, there are amazing soundtracks. Or maybe you don't know that, but they're amazing.
Yeah,
I've
heard the soundtrack. Yes.
Yeah, there are amazing, lots of music options for this one, or just put one of the movies on in the background and play music. But yeah, this is a really cool game. Now we know you've never seen Star Wars. I don't know. Like, I grew up in a household with a sci-fi dad, so we like Star Wars has just been a part of my childhood. Just like Star Wars, watch Star Wars.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know if you weren't in like growing up with like and watching it or having your family watch it or didn't get into it, I don't
No, my
know how
family,
it
not at
would.
all.
I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
know. I
how it
don't know.
would
It just
go
didn't
out.
happen for me. I would have to very consciously
Yeah.
pick it and watch it, which I
Oh,
might. I might.
I don't even know. I wouldn't even know which one to tell you to start with. Probably one of the best new ones because unless you're okay with things looking dated, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay, well, let me know if you ever end up watching it
Yes.
or any of them. All right. Anyways, that's Star Wars Rebellion. What's the next game on your list?
So the next game on my list is Horrified. It's a game from 2019 from Ravensburger, designers Prospero Hall, and it's a game from 1 to 4 players. So I know that now there's different types of like it's with Greek monsters and so on, but the original game, the Horrified, was like included like monsters from 50s horror and B movies and so on. So I found that it has like very cinematic moments, and I had a lot of fun also with this game. So it is a cooperative game where you try to save the villagers from the monsters that have plagued the village before the terror level reaches the max. And it's a very simple game. That's what I really enjoy about it. Like anyone can get in and play. You have a hero phase where you do your actions, and then there's the monsters phase with events and the monsters activating. And basically, what you do in the game, you're mostly going around picking up items, but the monsters have slightly different mechanics. So depending on the difficulty you want for the game, you can pick from 2 to 4 monsters. And I can say like you should definitely pick less because it's a really hard game to beat. Actually, it's pretty hard. So you have Dracula that you need to
Nice.
smash. Yeah, and he's like sort of flying, and you need to smash his coffin in 4 different locations to beat him. You have Frankenstein and his bride, and you need to educate them and make them more human in order for them to be less of a threat. You have the Invisible Man that you're trying to find like proof of his misdeeds and so on. There is the Mummy, and you have to break the curse. I think you sort of decipher something for the Mummy. There's the creature from the Black Lagoon, which I think I love the look of it so much.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
and
cool.
he's like hiding, and you have to find its lair to kill it. And you also have the Wolfman that you have to find the cure for him to cure him. And basically, you will. What I love in the game is that you have all these cinematic moments where you have a monster attacking you. So what you can do is just grab a random object that you picked up and you throw it at the monster to avoid being hit. So it's like sort of silly, but it's also a hard decision which one to throw, because you're using these items to try to make the cure for the Wolfman, trying to find the Black Lagoon, and so on. So it's quite easy and simple, but I'm surprised how much theme there is in that. And as the terror level goes up, you have new villagers enter the board, and you have to sort of escort them to safety, and that becomes a harder task. So you need really good coordination. It's also I'm not a fan of cooperative games.
Okay.
Also, But this is a game I really, really enjoy.
Cool.
So yeah, and also you have a lot of soundtracks to choose from. You have like a Dracula soundtrack, Creature from the Black Lagoon, a lot of them. Yeah.
Plenty of material to pull. Yeah, I've never played Horrified, but I feel like everybody, not everybody, but I know I've heard good things about it. I'll just say that. And I know it's kind of a lighter game, but it sounds cool. Like I'm gonna have to try it sometime. Maybe Halloween will be the time to break that one out.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Cool. Horrified. All right, I'm gonna jump to my next game, which it's so good. Okay, Dune Imperium Uprising is the next game on my list.
No, I have it on my list too.
Oh, nice, good. Then we can we can chat about it together a bit.
But I just have the Dune Imperium, not the Uprising.
Oh,
I haven't
you played
the Uprising. No.
Oh, okay. Well,
okay.
this is one you're gonna have to get if you clearly like Dune Imperium. So Dune Imperium Uprising came out last year in 2023. It's designed by Paul Dennen. It's published by Direwolf, and this one plays with 1 to 6 players, Eleni. So for people who aren't familiar with any of the Dune Imperium games, this is a deck building worker placement game based on Dune. I feel like based on the art that it's mostly based on the newer movies, even though Dune was originally a book series from Frank Herbert. But the Dune Imperium Uprising is a standalone reimplementation of Dune Imperium. And I'm at a point now where I'm like, yeah, it's definitely to me better. Like I love Dune Imperium, but like if I only was able to keep one, I would keep Uprising. It's, everybody starts with the same deck of cards and you have a leader with a special ability and you're going to get to use, I think, persuasion to get new cards for your deck as you play. But you're placing your agents out, which are your workers, based on cards that you're playing. And, each card has the like icons, like they're multi-use cards. So they have icons that will tell you different locations if you choose to use it to place an agent. If it, like there's a triangle one, I think that's the desert spaces. Anyways, you're placing these agents out and you're taking actions. And one of the things that I love about this game is that it adds conflict, and there's a conflict phase where there's like this combat element that's really exciting. Like, seeing like which ones you want to like go hard and compete for, because there are setbacks. Like if you go hard on one battle, then you're going to have to like rebuild up your troops to try to go for the next one. And it might be something better. So it's like that whole thing is amazing. I love games with intrigue cards, like where it's just so spicy. Like you don't know what people might be able to do, but you know that they might be able to do something sneaky. So it just like kind of keeps you like on the edge of your seat the whole game. The other thing that I love about Dune Imperium and Uprising also is just that the victory point scoring system is so tight. Like it reminds me of Twilight Imperium, where you're like every single point you get matters. And, it's I don't have any problem with like point salad games and games that go to scores of like 200. But man, when you are competing to race to get to 10 points, there's just like such a cool tension from these Dune Imperium games. And just to let you know, because you haven't played Uprising yet, a couple of the things that are different is they have spies. So they introduce a new piece that you have called spies that you can place at like basically like they're in between different spaces. Like it might be adjacent to 1 or 2 spaces. And when you put a spy out, you can now pick up your
spy.
Yeah, spies.
I heard spice as in spice, and I'm like, that was in the Imperium too.
That is such a Well, yeah, we made that joke too. It's like, are you saying spies or spice? Spies, SPIES. Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, that is a really common mistake when you're talking about spice and spies. But hey, that's a good name for a podcast about Dune. Spice and
Oh
spies.
yeah.
Anyways, like, so you have spies, and spies give you, like, if you have a spy adjacent to a location, let's say you had one of your agents there, and I can basically take the same action. You can't put your agent on a space that has another agent, but I can pull my spy back that's adjacent to that and place them out there. Also, you can pull a spy back that's adjacent to the space where you're taking an action to draw an extra card. So spies are really cool. There are sandworms in Uprising. And in order to summon a sandworm, which will give you 3 strength in combat, similar to the Dreadnoughts in the Rise of Ix expansion, you need to get this maker hook. So you can actually, like, if you know the movie or the books, you got to be able to, like, ride the sandworm. So there's that's introduced in this game. They also have on the conflict cards, they have these, like, battle icons. So there's, like, now another way to get a victory point if you have a matching pair of battle icons, and that changes, these battle icons kind of change your whole thought process of which conflicts you want to, like, compete for, because it's like, oh, like, maybe I don't really care about the rewards, but if I win this, I get this other icon, which is going to give me another point. And so it really changes things up. It's definitely, like, Uprising is slightly more complex, but if you've already played Dune Imperium Uprising, it's like the new stuff is, like, not that crazy at all. There's a contracts module you can play with, and it's basically certain spaces on the board let you get a contract, and when you fulfill whatever the contract thing is, you get something cool. You can play with it or without it. And the last thing I'll mention is the 6-player 3 versus 3 mode. I finally got to try it like a month or 2 ago. It is super fun because you have 2 teams, and on the teams, 2 of the 3 people are playing, like, pretty much like sort of a normal Dune Imperium Uprising game. But each team has a commander. One is going to be Muad'Dib, and the other is going to be the Emperor. And they have their own little board, and, like, their actions are slightly different, but they help their teammates, and there are all these ways you can trade. And we played a 6-player game of this in 3 hours, and it was super fun. So, I love Dune Imperium. I love Dune Imperium Uprising. So that is my number 3. But you can go ahead and chime in with your thoughts on, because it's on your list. So your experience.
Yeah, well, it sounds very similar. The stuff you said that are different sounds like that it makes the game more strategic in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
It's super difficult, like the whole, like when an agent is blocking your space, it's really really hard to overcome. I think there is like a intrigue card for that somewhere that, it allows you to
I think so.
sidestep that. But yeah, I love how tight this game is. And I had Dune Imperium as a number 1 on my list, but I guess I can talk about it right now.
Yeah. And honestly, this could have been my number 1. Like, it feels weird to have it here because it's like such an awesome game.
It's a really good game. Yeah. True. So I haven't read the books of Dune. I only saw the movies, the recent ones, and I was not super into it, to be honest. Yeah, I don't.
Fair.
But I do get the whole, it makes me want to read the books more because I'm not sure where this is going from the 2 movies I watched, and I think it gets, like, very rich afterwards. But I did watch this documentary that it was about Jodorowsky's Dune. the
This
director.
this has
Uh,
been in my queue to watch for a while. I've seen the
yes,
trailer multiple times. We haven't seen it yet, but
it's amazing. It's so much fun. So this director, this weird, eccentric director, Jodorowsky, decided to make a movie about Dune, even though he says he has never read the, the books, but he was very excited about it. And this is like a documentary about this movie that was never made. It was like the greatest movie of all time that was never made because it was so ambitious. And the way he talked about the world, like it was so imaginative, so creative, so super ambitious. And like he wanted the best of the best to be in the movie. So he wanted Salvador Dali to play in the movie, and he asked like for crazy things to be fulfilled to be in the movie. He got a
yeah.
lot of professionals from other industries that actually did a lot of sci-fi stuff later, I think from Alien and so on. So he had the
Yeah.
best of the best. Somehow he had like a dream team, and it never got made. That was, it was so ambitious that it could never got made. But it got me thinking that it's a very rich universe, and there's a lot of darkness also to it, and a lot of plot twists. So that got me
Yeah.
more excited about the actual universe. And
Cool.
I got to play Dune Imperium like only recently. So that's why I'm so excited about it, because I don't know. I heard people talk about it because people compare it to Arnak a lot because both of the games
Oh, came out the
use.
same year with deck building and worker placement.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And they're both like really good games. So there's a lot of that comparison. And I'm really sort of impressed by how these two mechanics are used in so different ways. So, for
Yeah.
example, in Arnak, you have it's not tied at all. You have a lot of options, and this combination sort of makes you feel the theme of exploration more, because if your plan A doesn't pan out, you can always do plan B or plan C. So there's a lot of things available to you, a lot of branches. And to me, that like makes the feeling of exploration feel like more real. And
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
Dune Imperium, I think because it's so tight, and you know that the hands of your opponents are tied in some way, because it's the deck building part is really hard, I find.
Mm-hmm.
In this game,
Yeah.
you don't know in what is their weakness. And there's a lot of plotting involved in the game. So I think the combination of these two mechanics sort of, I think that's very much in theme with
Yeah.
Dune, like the
Yeah.
feeling of secret plotting. But you to play well, you should consider sort of like what secret restrictions your opponents might be dealing with. So
For sure.
I
Yeah.
love the feeling of suspense like that this tightness creates. So I found it very interesting, like the use of these two mechanics. I also like the intrigue cards. Some people
Yeah.
think it's sort of random, but I think the game sort of balances that in a way, because you can have up to four people can steal
Yeah. You can't
your
hoard
fourth
them
one.
and do something crazy or
Yes,
you're probably going to get stolen from. Yeah.
yes, yes. I really love the combat. I think it's super streamlined. It's very, easily to calculate, and it creates a lot of suspense until the end. Who's going to get it?
Yeah.
I think you talked about how it plays. So, there's no need to sort of go through the details, but I don't know. I think it's very consistent with the theme, and I personally enjoyed the game more than I enjoyed the films. So I think it did a
That
really
is
great
fair.
job. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. I'm so glad you just like recently kind of discovered this one,
yeah,
because this just happened to be one that I early on like I like Clank, and so Paul Denon already was like, oh, what is he working on next? And when Dune Imperium came out, and I got a review copy of it from the publisher, and I played it probably like a half a dozen times and like wrote an article about it. And I just, every game, I still talk about it. Like there was this one 3-player game I played where my heart was racing so much. And I'm just like, this is a board game. Why do I feel this way? Because we were just, it was so, so good. And I've had so many of those moments with the Dune Imperium games. And that's just like anytime a board game can bring that out, it's I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Totally
Cool.
agree.
So that's Dune Imperium Uprising and Dune Imperium. And that was our crossover. Probably the last one I think because I think I might know what you're going to say next. But the next game on my list, the next game on my list is War of the Ring. And War of the Ring specifically, you forget about this one or?
No. It's just that which one?
Oh, you mean the card game or the board game or the second edition or first edition?
Yeah.
This, I'm going to say the War of the Ring second edition board game. I do like the card game a lot too. I also love Lord of the Rings LCG. I love Lord of the Rings, and I feel like War of the Ring. I still haven't played Hunt for the Ring. I need to play that one too. So this is, again, another one that's kind of like based on books first, then movie. But I feel like the experience of playing it is very cinematic. The original edition of this game came out in 2004, and then the second edition came out in 2011. It's designed by Roberto Di Meglio, Marco Maggi, Francesco Nepitello, and it's published by Ares Games. This is another one like Star Wars Rebellion that's 2 to 4 players, but I feel like majority of people play it 2 players. I'm not opposed to trying it like 4 players, but in the game, 1 player is going to basically be controlling the free peoples. The other player is going to be controlling the shadow armies. There are tons of minis, real big board. There are 2 different ways you can kind of win the game. One is like a military victory. So if Sauron conquers like a certain number of free people cities and strongholds, that player, the shadow player, wins, and vice versa. You know, it's just kind of like getting these strongholds. But the more thematic way that the free people can win is if the Fellowship gets to Mount Doom secretly because they're hidden, and the shadow player's looking for them, and they're trying to drop that ring and basically destroy it. So this is a big epic game. It's heavy. A lot of your actions are driven by you have these action dice that you're going to roll, and you have cards, and you have like characters, and it's just so thematic and awesome. And at some point I bought the like deluxe neoprene playmat for it. I got these bases, these color bases, because I'm keeping it real. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to painting minis and all those minis, but it was hard for me setting it up to like know which minis are these, which factions, because you have all these different factions. But now I have colored bases on them, so it makes it a lot easier. I also have this really awesome 3D printed insert. Shout out to MK3D Prints on Etsy. I can't remember the guy's name right now, but he has this insert that he makes, and all the trays are colored. So now I have all my armies with their colored bases in their colored trays, and it just like helps with setup so much. But this is a game, it's hard to get to the table, but it's really, really good in, you know, the cinematic experience of Lord of the Rings movies. But I like War of the Ring, the card game also. Have you played that?
I have played the card game, and it wasn't really. I wasn't very much impressed by it.
Not your thing.
Not exactly what I was looking for. So
Gotcha.
the War of the Ring, the second edition you're talking about, I bought it. I have it right here, and I was hoping to get the chance to play it.
That was wonderful.
Yeah, I wanted to have the time to play it, but there is not enough time, it seems, because the rule book is thick. I have a friend who will probably teach it to me, but you need like a whole day or something for it. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to do it. because I heard so many good things about this game. I love the Lord of the Rings, the movies also, and then the books. I haven't read all the books. I've read like The Hobbit, but the whole lore like is amazing. It also invites for a really good soundtrack because the
Oh yeah.
soundtrack is amazing. And
Oh
I'm
yeah.
super curious about this game. Like I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like it. So I look forward to playing it eventually.
And I would highly recommend whenever you get to play it that whoever you're playing with, both of you like watch a video, a how to play video. I
Hmm.
think Shay from RTFM has a good one.
Hmm.
Like there are, because it'll help, like I think just learning from the rule book might feel a lot more complex than it really is. And I think by going through the video and then, read the rule book too, it'll kind of, make everything click better. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really cool experience. It's a really cool
Hmm.
experience
Hmm.
and
Yeah, I think
great.
it's probably worth the investment in
Yeah,
time.
yeah, absolutely. And also, for me, for War of the Ring, the card game, I haven't played it enough, but I love like LCGs and card games. And the did I play it twice or three times? I like the team aspect of it.
Hmm.
But I
Yeah.
think it's a game where you want to know the cards and it's going to like reward the more you play if you like kind of like LCG feeling card games.
Hmm.
But I like it and I want to play it more.
Yeah, what I was, didn't really click for me was that I was playing the Witch King and I could not get in most of the like there's two locations and uh
Oh,
like
quests
my
or
partner
yeah.
was I don't remember the quests
Yeah.
and I just couldn't get in. I felt like a bit very restricted by what I can do. But it was the kind of weight that I was looking for, like a game that is you can probably play it with on a coffee table and
Yeah.
a more
Quick teach.
relaxed kind of experience. Yeah, exactly. But the experience, I mean, I played it only once. Maybe I should
Yeah.
give it another try. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say give it another try because I know what you're talking about too, where like if you're not able to contribute a card to like the quest or the
Hmm.
conflict,
Yeah.
it's like, well, this is what we're competing for. And
Yeah.
I think that, and this is coming from someone who's not even an expert at this, but I think that if you get more familiar with the cards in your deck, I think there are other things you can do to kind of like pivot and kind of maybe set up for something
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like let your teammate take the lead. I think there are things that you can kind of like push and pull, but I don't know. I don't know. That's just
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
like
No, no,
that's just what I'm
definitely.
thinking.
Definitely, because I know a lot of people who are crazy about the game. So I guess, it's my experience is not like the one that people usually have. So I would, give it another try.
Yeah, and I think I've played it like 3 times at this point, and each time I play it, I like it more and more.
Hmm.
And it is the kind of game that I would like to like kind of be playing more regularly because again, I think it's
Hmm.
going to be more rewarding the more you know how
Right.
the different
Yeah.
decks work and what the possibilities are. But yeah, so that is well, that what I was just talking about was War of the Ring, the card game. But my number two
Mhm.
pick was War of the Ring, second edition. All right, so we know we already spoiled your number one. So what's the last game on your list, Eleni?
Yeah. So that was on my number two initially. And it's Nemesis.
Yeah, I knew
From
you were gonna say it.
From Awaken Realms. It's a game from 2018 from Adam Kwapinski. And it's a game from 1 to 4 players that is clearly based on the Alien movies.
Yep.
I don't know why they didn't like name it. Maybe they didn't get like the IP or anything, but it's just as good because it really has all the theme of the Alien movies.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I haven't played this game in a very long time. I mean, I had done the how to play for it for Awaken Realms, and then I played it a bunch of times. A lot of people like were very excited about it, had like really good time. And it's been a while since I played it, but I do remember how cinematic it was. Like it can be a very, very intense experience. And I thought that it sort of reflects the theme of the game very
Yeah.
well. So it had to be on my list. So it's a semi cooperative sci-fi survival horror game, and you have to survive an alien infested spaceship. And you're also all the time suspicious about other players and their agendas, because all the heroes have their own. At the beginning of the game, you get like two objectives, and you get to uh, keep, I think, one of them. Yes, you keep
Yeah,
one
you
of
have to
them.
like get rid of one when maybe when the first like adult alien spawns or when somebody dies
Mhm.
or there's some trigger that says you have to commit to one of your secret objectives.
Yes. Yes. So everybody has a secret objective that can be very, very different. Like the ship is heading supposedly to Earth, but maybe your objective is to send it to Mars, or maybe you want to be the last one surviving in the ship, or that a specific character should not survive. So there's many different incentives playing out in the game. And you also have like the main part of the table is the spaceship, the board with the spaceship with different locations, and the ship is basically falling apart. A lot of issues with the engines,
Yes.
like all
Fires.
sorts of fires. Yeah, yeah, all sorts of kinds of difficult
Challenges,
situations,
obstacles. Yeah.
challenges. Yeah. And it's basically a very dark cinematic dungeon crawler. And you also get to, of course, you have aliens coming after you, and you can discover their weaknesses and see how you can best deal with them.
Oh yeah, by like doing
And
research. Yeah.
yeah, doing research, and you have to always check. You do a lot of checks, like if you're being contaminated with those contamination cards that
Oh
have
my
this
gosh.
red
Yeah.
cellophane thing that you read if you're infected or not. Um,
Oh.
yeah, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. One of the things I really like, I think, stood out from the mechanics is the noise rolls. So like
Mm.
it regulates the game a lot. So when a player,
When you move
uh,
into a new room and you
yeah,
explore it, if you're the only one in there, you have to see if you heard something.
exactly. And noise is what makes the intruders come out. So I also found that this was a very cinematic thing to have in the game, because in the movies you
Yeah.
have like a lot of tension coming out from the noise. So this kind of makes you feel the suspense.
Terrified, yeah.
Um, and yeah, in general, it was like very, I remember it as a stressful experience, filled with tension. And it's always a risk moving from one place to another, because it's, a lot of things can happen just by moving around. And there's a lot of interesting decisions to make. You can choose to spend like all your cards each turn, and then you have, this limits your actions you'll be able to make if a monster shows up, or you could move slowly and make very little noise, and always keep like a couple of cards to ensure you don't get jumped by like a surprise attack by an alien.
Yeah, yeah. It's so good. Like I love Nemesis, and when you asked about like including board games based on movies and mentioned this as an example, I was like, yes, I'm glad. I love Nemesis. I love talking about it. I've only got into it and played it for the first time about 2 years ago, but every single time I've played it, I think it's about 5 times now. It is so like the stories that come out of this game. I have not won one time, but I've enjoyed every single game. And they
Yes,
all, like the
exactly.
very first game we played, we were all new, 4 players, and we didn't realize how much you need to pay attention to fires. And we also, just because of the events, a couple rooms caught on fire, and then we drew back-to-back events that spread the fire, and we died. We died. And so like the next time that same four of us played, it was like, okay, make sure we keep on top of the fire just in case that happens again. And then there's a situation where Matt was the scientist in the wheelchair, and he is in a room with like an adult alien, and these minis are scary, and like two other small ones. And he was like, oh, I think I'm going to try to fight him. We're like, no, you got to run. And when you run, you have to like flip a card to see if they hit you on your way out. So he safely evades 3 aliens, moves to the next room, but has to roll for noise. And that triggered them all to come swarming in. And then they just killed him. But it was just like such an incredible story. Also in that game, 3 of us, we were about to end the game, and I died trying to hibernate. And then the other 2, they both made it, but one of them was infected, so they died at the very end. And then the other one needed just one other player to be living to complete their secret objective. So, anyways, Nemesis is amazing.
Yeah, and it's very memorable, like it creates all these stories, and it's like a movie you watched. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, great pick. And I'm very excited about Nemesis Retaliation, I think is the new one. I backed that on Gamefound, and that one has like a more modular map build out, and they changed a couple things up. But yeah, I really dig it. That was Nemesis. Awesome pick. Makes me want to play it again right now. The last game on my list is Dune War for Arrakis. So this is another Dune game, and I put it higher up on the list than Uprising, mainly because I'm just really excited to revisit it. I've only played it once. Came out in 2024. I also think thematically it's like way more feels like the movie experience, the new movies. But this is designed by 2/3 of the crew that designed War of the Ring, Marco Maggi and Francesco Nipatello, and it's from Simon. It plays with 1 to 4 players. So I backed this one on Kickstarter, and I was just like, oh, it's Dune. I'm just going to go for it. I generally like a lot of the stuff Simon puts out, so I was like, I'm just going to get it and try it. And I liked it so much more than I was expecting. It's this asymmetrical battle for Arrakis. One person is House Harkonnen, the other is House Atreides, and the Harkonnen player is trying to get 10 supremacy points. Atreides player has these like secret objectives where they're trying to like move up these markers on the prescience track, which thematically means they're like having more of a bond with the Fremen and like trying to become the Kwisatz Haderach. All sorts of stuff, like very thematic. There's like a big map with different areas and terrains. And like War of the Ring, you're using dice for action selection, these custom dice, but you have character cards that spice things up. The Harkonnen player has different spice harvesting vehicles. And there's just so much. There's worm sign tokens. You're like, as the Atreides player, you know how the people in the movie pop out of the sand, the Fremen, they replicate that in this game because you have these face down tokens where you, the Atreides player, you can look at them and say, okay, what kind of units are going to spawn? But the Harkonnen player doesn't know. And if they move into an area that has one of those, then it's like, haha, these minis are coming out. And I just thought like the gameplay is like really, really smooth. It's like, I can't say long term if I like this one better than War of the Ring or not, but it's definitely easier, like less complex, cleaner, and it just depends on which lore I'm in the mood for. Because I do really like the Dune movies. I saw the new one 4 times in the theater.
What?
The second one, yeah.
Wow.
It was only supposed to be 3 times. But wait, is it? Yeah, I think Okay, maybe it was 3 times. No, I think I saw it 4 times. I don't know. Anyways, I saw it a lot. I do like the new movies a lot. I've seen the old movie. I saw the Spice Diver edition of the old David Lynch movie where some like fans kind of cut in all this like extra footage to make it more true to the book. I like it. I'm a big fan, and I just think this game is like really, really cool and really gives you that cinematic Dune experience. So that's my number
Wow.
one. Have you
So
checked this
many
one out yet?
Dune games.
I know.
No, I actually didn't know which one to start with. I heard a lot of good things about Imperium, so I'm like, okay, I should that should be
Oh yeah,
enough,
for
you
sure.
know? But I now with like the other two you mentioned, like I'm very, very intrigued and I should get more into the Dune universe, I think.
Yep, the
From
Duneverse.
the Duniverse, yeah.
Yeah, and if you like, whenever you get around to playing War of the Ring, if you like that, Dune War for Arrakis has some similar DNA, but it's like it's more accessible and like easier to get to the table. It's a little simpler, but like really, really, really cool. Like really cool.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that one is definitely going to be high up on my best game of 2024 list. I already know it. So that's Dune War for Arrakis. And just real quick, I did have like a couple honorable mentions that I just wanted to shout out. One is, speaking of Dune, the original Dune board game from like the 70s is amazing, but that game came out based on the books only, so that's why it's an amazing game, but I put it as an honorable mention. And I was almost going to just bundle all the Dune games together, but I was like, that's not going to be fair. The other thing is, you were talking about Nemesis, but I really like Legendary Encounters alien deck building game is like really, really good. And that does have the official like characters and story elements from the Alien movies and Aliens. I'm not even like a huge fan of those movies. Like I appreciate them, but it's not like my jam. But that game is like awesome. And I've also played the new Matrix Legendary Encounters Matrix game, which has a similar system to Alien deck building game, but it's the Matrix. So I was like, oh, well, I like the Matrix movies a lot better than Alien. So, but my first play of it, like, it felt easy. We played a 3-player game. I want to try like different scenarios and see if that one's worth keeping too. But I think it's cool because you can kind of like bounce between the real world and being in the Matrix, and you have to like to tackle like certain threats and stuff. You have to like move to the inside the Matrix, and then other things you need to do in the real world. So that was like a really cool dynamic, and I love deck building.
Wow.
And
I didn't know it existed. It's the first time I hear about it.
it was either, I think it was just last year it came out at Gen Con last year. Yeah,
Oh.
and there hasn't been a lot of buzz about it, but yeah, if you like the Matrix and you like deck building, definitely check it out. It's really good. I'm just literally comparing it to the Alien Legendary Encounters game and like, if do I need to keep both kind of thing. Jury's still out on that. And then the last one I'll give a shout out to in terms of games inspired by movies, Dawn of the Zeds. It is like such a like narrative, challenging, zombie themed, game. Oh my gosh, and Dead of Winter now that I'm thinking of zombies. But the designer Herman Luttman, who made Dawn of the Zeds, also has a new game called Plum Island Horror that's kind of like, again, a cinematic. I don't know exactly which movie it is inspired by, but it's something like movie related.
Wow. This is coming out now?
Plum Island Horror is out now. It like came out at the beginning of this year or something. So I always have to throw in some honorable mentions just to let myself cheat and talk about more games. But I love that like we only had the one crossover. A couple of games on your list I haven't played, like Horrified, Final Girl, and you made me like really want to play them. So that's really cool. And I was really excited to talk about this topic too. So I'm glad you picked it. I'm glad you're getting into Dune Imperium. And
Yes, me too, actually.
yeah.
I didn't think we're gonna find a lot of games because when you first think about the topic, like when I first thought about it, I didn't have a lot of. It's not like I had to choose from a really big
A
list
big
of
list or
games.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I realize there's a lot of games I definitely need to play. I mean, I knew about War of the Ring. I bought it. I'm definitely going to play it. And now I'm more excited about all the Dune games. And there
Yeah.
is, a lot of cool games in that list. And I'm happy we did it.
Yeah, yeah. And I always again, from watching your Cardboard Rhino videos, I always like and appreciate that, it seems like you're kind of an omni gamer like I am, and you play all different types of games. And so it was cool to
Yeah.
hear which of these you picked out for this particular topic. It was so awesome talking to you, Eleni. I'm excited to see you already at Gen Con and, catch up for a bit. But this is the most we've ever gotten to catch up. So
Yes.
really great chatting with you and hearing about which movie board games resonate with you. I know there's a bunch, there's a Goonies game and all sorts of, Prospero Hall has a lot of different games.
Mhm.
I don't know how they are. I haven't played a lot of
Yeah, me
them, but
neither.
but it's just like with TV show games and IP games, there is a risk of it being kind of corny, cheesy, but the ones we picked are awesome.
Yeah, definitely. It was great chatting to you, Candice. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
inviting me, and I look forward to seeing you at Gen Con.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm so excited to see you too. And I'm glad we could do this. Thank you for making the time because I know you are busy.
A little.
Cool. Well, I will see you in a month.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the Board Game Geek podcast, produced and edited by Candice Harris. Special thanks to Matt Fonda for editing and mixing our music. Be sure to visit us on the web at boardgamegeek.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch under Board Game Geek. You can reach us by email at podcast@boardgamegeek.com. Thanks for listening and happy gaming!